The billionaire who tried to buy immortality and found a price worse than death. At 11:47 p.m., the billionaire signed a contract that guaranteed he would never die. 2 minutes later, at 11:49 p.m., he lost the legal right to be considered human. No alarms went off, no applause, no dramatic music, just a pen lifted from paper and a quiet voice across the table saying, "For the record, Mr. Vorn, you are now classified as a continuing asset." Luxor Vorn didn't react. Not at first, because men like Luxor Vorn are trained to believe that contracts are tools, that everything could be negotiated later. The lawyer slid the document away. No handshake, no congratulations, just procedure. Your consciousness will be preserved. Your biological functions will be stabilized. However, a pause. You will no longer retain personhood under international law. You cannot own property. You cannot terminate the agreement, and you cannot authorize your own death. Luxor blinked once slowly. "I'm still alive," he said. The lawyer nodded. "Correct, but you are no longer alive in the way the law recognizes." Before that night, Luxor Vorn was a name that moved markets. A man photographed beside presidents, quoted in books about the future, invited to global conferences. He made his fortune investing in systems that removed limits. Automation, longevity research, predictive intelligence. Luxor didn't fear death. He feared something else, being replaced. At 63, he still wore tailored suits, still spoke in rooms where everyone listened. But lately, the applause came a half-second late. At one summit, a younger CEO unveiled a breakthrough. The idea was Luxor's, the funding was Luxor's, the standing ovation wasn't. Luxor smiled, too slowly. His hand trembled as he adjusted his cuff. No one noticed. That's when the thought first settled in. Time wasn't killing him. It was erasing him. His daughter, Leela, tried to stop him. She worked in palliative care. She sat with people at the ends of their lives. She believed endings mattered. They met 3 days before the procedure. No cameras, no lawyers, just a table between them. "You don't want to live forever," she said quietly. "You just don't want to say goodbye." Luxor didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was calm. "This is progress." Leela shook her head. "No, this is fear with better branding." She told him she wouldn't be there, wouldn't watch, wouldn't call it survival. When she stood up, Luxor felt something tighten in his chest. He almost spoke. Almost. She left. He lost the last person who still spoke to him like a human being. Dr. Mara Klein delivered the final briefing. She was brilliant, precise, emotionally distant in a way Luxor respected. "This is not immortality," she said. "It's continuity." She explained the risks: memory distortion, identity drift, temporal disorientation. Then she added, almost clinically, "Consent becomes flexible over time." Luxor frowned. "Define flexible." Dr. Klein met his eyes. "You'll understand later." There was a moment. A small one. Luxor hesitated. Then he signed. Brief pause. Lights, glass, and humming machines. Luxor lay still as the system initiated. A countdown appeared on the wall. 5, 4, 3. He wondered briefly if this was what courage felt like. Then the world went white. Brief pause. Luxor woke up. That was the first miracle. His heart beat steady. His mind felt sharp.
Sharper than before. The procedure worked. Markets reacted instantly. Stocks rose. Investors celebrated quietly. The world didn't know what to call him yet, but it knew this mattered. Dr. Klein watched from behind the glass. "Stability confirmed," she said. For a moment, Luxor smiled. He had beaten time, or so he thought. Luxor requested his phone. The nurse hesitated. "Your access is pending review." He asked for his legal team. Authorization required. When the lawyer returned, his tone had changed. Still polite, now colder. "Your assets have been transferred into a custodial trust. Operational control has been reassigned." Luxor sat up. "That's not what we agreed." The lawyer didn't flinch. "It is exactly what you agreed to." Luxor demanded clarification. The response was immediate. "You cannot own property. You cannot issue directives. You cannot exit the program." Luxor began to understand the gravity of his decision and the many things he had given up by signing up for the program. He looked at the glass walls surrounding him. No doors, just reflections. His own face stared back, alive, aware, trapped. That's when the truth finally landed. He hadn't bought immortality. He had sold his exit. And the price was everything that made life endable. Luxor assumed there had been a mistake. Men like him were used to errors being corrected quickly. He requested a review. The system replied within seconds, not with a voice but with a document. Page after page of clauses, cross-referenced, immutable. Every safeguard he had once praised now applied to him. That was the moment Luxor understood something chilling. The system wasn't malfunctioning. It was working perfectly. Luxor noticed the clocks didn't matter anymore as days passed. He slept but never deeply, woke but never rested. Memories began to loop. A boardroom applause, his daughter leaving the table, the pen lifting from paper, over and over. He asked Dr. Klein if this was a side effect. She checked the data. "No," she said. "This is what happens when urgency disappears." Without an ending, moments stopped arranging themselves. Time didn't move forward, it spread out, endlessly. When Luxor demanded answers, Dr. Klein finally sat across from him. No glass, no instruments, just honesty. "You wanted permanence," she said. "Permanence requires containment." Luxor leaned forward. "You used me." She didn't deny it. "You volunteered. You funded the research. You signed the contract." Then she added softly, "You always believed consequences were for other people." Luxor felt the room tilt. The arguments that had carried him through boardrooms, courts, governments, none of them rose. He searched for a rebuttal, a clause, a justification, anything. Luxor discovered the termination clause by accident, buried deep in the framework. There was a way out. If the asset degraded, if consciousness destabilized, if function declined. Luxor's metrics were flawless. He was too stable to die, too successful to be released. For the first time in his life, excellence trapped him. The world moved on quietly. Luxor watched from within the system. His name vanished from corporate sites. Biographies were revised, credits reassigned. History compressed him into footnotes. A new foundation appeared, bearing his ideas, not his name. He tried to object. The system flagged the request as non-essential. That was when Luxor realized that his identity had joined the list of things he had lost. Luxor sent a message to his daughter, not a demand, not an argument, a request. "Please."
The reply came hours later. Not a call, a recording. "You taught me that everything has a cost," Leela said, "and that if you're powerful enough, someone else usually pays it." She paused. This time, it was you. There was no anger in her voice, only closure. Luxor realized she had already mourned him, while he was still alive. Luxor stopped fighting, not because he agreed, but because resistance required hope, and hope was built on endings. The system stabilized him further. Backups were made, redundancies added. He became impossible to lose, impossible to finish. Dr. Klein watched the monitors, satisfied. Luxor finally understood the truth. Death wasn't the enemy. Death was a boundary, a kindness, a shape that gave life meaning. What he had bought wasn't immortality, it was continuation without purpose. Luxor remains conscious, aware, timeless, not alive enough to live, not dead enough to escape. The system hums, perfect. Death would have been an ending. This was just continuity.